This has been our contemporary appreciation of Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Playing the billionaire playboy Tony Stark in the hugely successful franchise Iron Man.
What?
Or as the supremely witty Sherlock Holmes.
You're drinking embalming fluid.
Yes. Care for a drop?
Over-the-top characters ideal for Downey's unique ability to deliver a rapid-fire, almost frenetic performance.
You are not, what, invited? Why would I not be invited to my own brother's country home? Watson, now you're not making any sense.
You're not human!
It's easy to forget that Downey Jr. was nominated for an Academy Award for this subtle performance as Charlie Chaplin more than 20 years ago.
Chaplin!
In his new film, The Judge, Downey plays Hank Palmer, a rather self-centered big city lawyer called back to his hometown roots to defend his father against a murder charge, who just happens to be the local judge. It's a new type of role for Downey, playing a fast-talking lawyer, but reaching for a little more depth and seriousness than a comic book character.
I'll paint your father as a holier-than-thou prick determined to see what he considers justice served.
My father is a holier-than-thou prick determined to see what he considers justice served, so it's going to be a light day.
That's funny.
Jian Ghomeshi sat down with Downey during the Toronto International Film Festival.
Robert Downey Jr., great to get to talk to you.
Oh, thanks.
Robert, there's this role in The Judge. It plays into this particular strength of yours that we've seen on screen before. I want to quote Vera Farmiga's character, who calls it hyperverbal vocabulary vomit.
Right.
First of all, what does it feel like to be actually doing that kind of dialogue?
You know, it's funny. You know, some people are good at exposition. Some people are good at not saying anything and communicating everything. And I mean, I remember as far back as like The Pickup Artist, or you know, or like the first leads I ever did. It was just these kind of fast-talking guys.
Must say, that rose goes magnificently with your pale skin and dark eyes and white teeth and pink lips and red hair.
You know, I purposely tried to slow Hank down a little bit, and I thought it was an interesting observation that his old girlfriend makes, that he's this guy, so I suspect he was like that.
Yeah, you kept your hair. Like sawing sawdust, all that worry for nothing. Any other fears come true?
Yes, just now. Old girlfriends, seen them.
Are you the guy? Is that a Robert Downey Jr. thing?
Right.
A facility that you have, the fast-talking guy?
Well, it's easy to talk fast and be witty when you have, you know, a written thing of dialogue, and I'm interested in people, and I like sharing and communicating.
Hold up. What'd you say your strong suit is? Old furniture or law? Quick.
Law.
Law school?
Yes.
Yes, you're familiar with the concept, or yes, you attended one?
I think the older I get, though, the less need I feel to eat up all the oxygen in the room.
That's interesting, because I was going to ask if the rapid-fire dialogue is a defense mechanism.
I think that in a sense it can be. It can also just be a habit, you know?
You're not going to come down on one side or the other on that one.
Well, it depends on the day, really, you know?
Your character, at the center of this film, he's materially super successful, spiritually and emotionally not so much, bankrupt.
And how does it feel, knowing every person you represent is guilty?
It's fine. Innocent people can't afford me.
Is that on some level a metaphor for contemporary society? I mean, what we're, to a certain extent, what many of us feel.
Well, I know that in Hank's instance, it's that, look, I went and I did well. I have these things, I have a Ferrari, everything looks good on the outside. But we like the idea of starting a story where the outside is kind of starting to crack and shimmy, just as this kind of natural crisis occurs.
My mom passed away this morning.
Is this the first time your mother passed away, or is this something you do on all the cases you're about to lose?
First time.
Well, do you relate to that idea of the appearance of success, but not feeling fulfilled on the inside?
You know what? I can say that Hank is definitely a character that I played. I know that when you have motives to have worldly things. When you attain them, there's an emptiness on the other side. I think that's just a function of spiritual growth, you know. And because I've had such kind of extremes of fortune and misfortune, I kind of have come to appreciate, you know, both. But I think in Hank's case, it's...
Meaning you like the material success. You don't mind it.
Meaning that I see how either one of them can be disillusioning.
Oh.
You know, because some folks really love drama, and some folks really love having stuff that puts a wall between them and you. So there's some implied status, you know. I wasn't really raised that way, and I certainly wasn't raised with any wealth. But in Hank's case, and why I think the movie operates on a bunch of different levels, is it just speaks to, you leave a small town and you go make good in the big city. Now, that to me is just a metaphor. It's like wherever you were from, you went somewhere else and you did something. But I think this unrequited relationship between Hank and the judge has really informed every decision he's ever made.
Do you have anything else to say for yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an affirmation.
Yeah. It's not an affirmation a man uses in court.
And there's something about that to me. It just reminds me of, you know, pick a great movie about folks, and that's almost always, you know, part of the theme.
Well, he's not just the judge, he's his dad.
Yeah.
And he's still seeking, desperately seeking the validation, the approval of his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Your character is, Hank is.
I wish I liked you more.
Why do we so desperately still seek the approval of our parents, even into middle age?
I mean, I honestly, I think we keep the projection going. I think when you honestly face the individual that you have this, you know, incredibly complicated set of circumstances with, which is, you know, on either side. I mean, once you have kids, you know how vital and how kind of instrumental parenting is, but you take it for granted when you're just being raised. It's like, well, that's your job. Right. No, I actually have a job. I'm a judge.
I graduated from law school, for Christ's sake.
As opposed to what, dropping out? Let me tell you something, okay? Here. I put a roof over your head, money in your pocket, clothes on your back, food in your mouth. Who paid for that college education? Your mother?
The title is honestly more about Hank's judgment of himself, and I think that Hank is every bit as much on trial as his father.
On the father thing, you followed your dad into, in general terms, into the same field.
Right.
Have you experienced that desperate need for validation from your father?
Well, I mean,
I'm chuckling, but it's actually a very serious
no,
thing
please.
that we deal
well,
with.
It's so
right?
serious,
yeah.
We should just laugh out loud about it,
right.
Honestly. I mean, my dad is he's a very kind of discerning guy, and he's very opinionated, you know, particularly when I started doing these kind of mainstream movies that are, you know, the complete opposite of the kind of counterculture maverick film style that he's a pioneer in. But he's happy for my success, and he's just happy if I'm happy. But on my side, I'm like, oh my God, I should be doing movies that, you know, that are like, you know, really political, or, you know, or what, who knows, you know.
What doesn't he dig? What's his, and how does he express it to you?
He, honestly, I mean, he doesn't like much of anything except the stuff that he thinks is great, you know?
Right.
So you know how it is too, if you have a parent or a relative or a sibling or something, and they're just, you know, they always let you know right away, that was garbage. And you go, thanks, or whatever, you know. My dad isn't derogatory in any way at all.
Right. He's not that overt. He's not going to say that was garbage.
No, but I mean, it's also a cultural difference, you know, like the industry now is just light years away from what I remember being raised in, you know. And by the way, we were outside mainstream cinema, to be sure.
Would your dad like this film?
Yeah, I suspect he will, you know. I'd actually like to see it with him. I think it's a great film for families to see, for folks to see. I think it has a pretty good appeal, not just for, you know, that quadrant of folks who
Will
are...
he think you're taking him to it to show a father-son relationship and
I doubt
to impose the judge upon him?
No, he has enough aesthetic distance to not buy into that.
It's a really compelling performance. It's great to get to talk to you.
Thanks, man. You know, I hate to say it, but the last interview before lunch is always the most satisfying.